one, Annie, and then, well, maybe I'll just control these so they don't quite go. Can I do it?
Oh.
So that, yeah.
Is that different?
Yeah, just go back. There we go. Okay, so that's Betty Ann, older sister, Bernard, older brother, and Mom. So Tommy isn't on the screen yet. So I guess that, and this would be on the family farm, Mom.
Chippewa Falls.
Chippewa Falls in Wisconsin.
Grandma and Grandpa.
So she was a farm girl, but then was really a city girl.
Oh, yeah.
So she grew up in Cloquet, in northern Minnesota, and Dad had a spell as a lumberjack. Grandpa Milton had a short time as a lumberjack, but then he worked in a paper mill, and they lived in the town of Cloquet. So Mom was a town girl, very much a town girl. So when she met Dad dancing the Lindy, and ended up moving from Cloquet down to Belle Plaine, which in those days was a 5-hour drive on a 2-lane highway with no restaurants on the way. One of my best memories was pulling over to the side of the road and peeing in the ditch. There was no such thing as rest stops in those days. And anyway, it was much cleaner to pee in the ditch than to go into a petrol or a gas station. Anyway, so there we go. So there we are. So Mom was a young woman, just 18 years old, when she married and found herself on a farm and part of a huge family. Dad came from a family of 12, and they were all of farm stock, and they knew how to look after each other, and they knew how to cook and to clean and to mend and to keep the men fed, and Mom didn't know any of this.
I didn't know how to boil water.
She hardly knew how to boil water, and there she was on a farm, and one of her first jobs was to feed the farm hands somehow, some way. But she managed, and very soon, baby number 1 came along when she was 19, and that was Linda. And then 2 years later, baby number 2 came along, and that was Emily. And 2 years after that, baby number 3 came along, and that was me. So our family is kind of in 3 girls and 3 boys. So the boys will figure later on, but there's quite a gap. So the 6 of us were born over an 18-year period. So it was a big stretched out family. So what did we do? Growing up on the farm, it was in the summertime. Basically, we were told to go outside and don't come in until it's dark.
You were what?
And that's what we did. And up the road, so I said, but when we were small, in the summertime, when school was out, we were told, go outside and don't come in until it's dark. So that's what we did, and this is the farm, this is the yard of our house, and we were champion players. I mean, we played all day long, from morning till night, and there was quite a tribe of us, and I'm pleased to see some of the tribe. So Uncle Mike lived up the road from us, just, it seemed like miles away, but it probably was a 5-minute walk. Faster on our stick horses. And we just played all day long, didn't we? We were outside and we played. So there's Annie and Linda, and I think that's Kevin as the baby. And I think Janet, you are in that too. Yeah, Janet's got her arm up. So now I have to just say a few words about Janet. So Janet is an only child. And this was like, how exotic is that? Like, you know, we had 60 first cousins, right? My dad was from a family of 12. We were 6 in our family. And then along comes a cousin all on her own. And that was like so amazing for us. But they came every summer, and we loved Janet, really loved her. And we loved looking in her suitcase. Because Janet had matching outfits. Janet Rose had matching outfits.
Very fancy.
And I can remember opening her suitcase and looking in wonder at a top that matched shirts. And they were folded just like in a store. And ironed. And every day she wore a different outfit. And it was just amazing. And the other thing that was
But they
amazing.
didn't realize they were all hand-me-downs from you.
Oh. They
She
just
had
looked.
time.
She had time, yeah. So we look forward. We really look forward to Janet's coming and Betty. They spent many weeks with us on the farm. Betty was a nurse, and my mom is a terrible jokester. So this is the other thing. Every year when they would arrive, we would plan a drama, a tragedy, for Betty to respond to, first aid. So one year, I remember vividly, I was to be outside picking flowers with a butcher knife, and I had a bottle of ketchup, and the other kids were on the lookout. We could see when somebody was coming because they would drive on the gravel road. Remember the smoke that would billow, the dust that would billow up? So somebody would be up a tree and watching for the trail of dust blowing across the fields. They're coming, get ready. Everybody would get into position. The car would drive up, they would get out, and they would just start to say hello. And then it was massive scream, come from behind the house, ketchup dripping down my arm, and run to Betty. Betty's the nurse, Betty's the nurse, she'll know what to do. And Betty was calm as a cucumber. Took us into the house, washed the ketchup off, and of course that was the end of the drama. But we always had to have some sort of trick going on, and poor old Janet, I don't know how you survived it, Janet.
I'm still in therapy.
You're still in therapy. Because it was very much a case of, masses against the one. So I can't, you know the cruelty of children. So there we are. Next one. How does that work? It'll come? Can I just push it forward now? Okay, so this was another thing that we did. We made houses. We played house. And we just used whatever was available. A tree, a stick, a blanket, and that's where we hung out. And we had all kinds of houses. That we made, teepees, and they were all imaginary. Malokas, yes. So the famous one at Mike's place, I don't know if you were already in high school then, but when Linda and Deb and Dennis and we built a Maloka. I don't know how, this was before the days of Google, of course.
That was Debbie's word, we didn't know.
So a Maloka is a thing. It is a South American tribe dwelling house. And we built a Maloka. Where did this word come from? Who had Encyclopedia Britannica? I don't know. So it was an A-frame. There was an A-frame with straw on it. And that's where we would hang out all day long. But the teenagers got into smoking. Yeah, and there were cigarettes stashed in the straw bale. Is that right?
Now,
That's so Christian. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this lot. They were teenagers. I was about 10 or 11 with Christy, and we were in the Maloka, and I don't know, we started looking around in the straw. We pulled cigarettes out of the straw. So, yeah, there we go. So that was playtime. Now another thing growing up was Dad always made us a skating rink. He made us an ice rink because of course those were in the days when it froze and then it stayed frozen for months. So Dad used to get the hose out and make us what would seem like a huge skating rink. It was probably about the size of this patch here. And so we all learned to skate outside. You can see the bare fields behind, and it was often minus 20. And we have some photographs, Bernie, of you coming with your mom, Kuka, who was from Puerto Rico. And some of the black and white pictures that she took on the back, she goes, 20 below, can you believe it? Exclamation mark. Okay, so another thing about growing up was horses.
That's my mom.
Dad loved horses, so we always had a horse on the farm, or a few horses, and of course before the days of health and safety. So from very early on, we just were often on the back of horses. That's Linda, and that's me, and I think that might be Nip. And then there was Lassie, the famous dog. Yeah, there were 3 horses. Yeah.
Jeannie?
3 Lassies, were there?
One would disappear, we'd end up with another.
Jeannie?
One more story about those horses. Leo had a bad back, and riding the horse helped relieve his back.
Okay. So Dad had a bad back and riding it. Yeah. So of course, endless hours in the snow. Never mind, how cold it was. We were out in the snow, and in the background there,
It's Mike's
for our
place.
dear cousins from Mike's family, Mike and Edna's family, directly there's the home place. Out the back there.
Yeah.
So that was the long way we had to walk to play with our cousins. That seemed like miles away. And when we wanted, so it seemed like too far away to meet up, so we thought we'd have a telephone. So we made our own telephone, and we took baler's twine and we knotted it together, and we put a can on the end of it, and we stretched this all the way up there in the hopes that we could talk into the can and they would hear us.
Or meet halfway the pole.
Or yeah, the other thing was meet halfway, and that was the black telephone pole. It's not the one in the middle, but the one beyond it, which was in fact closer to their house. It was years of unfair. We always had to walk further to meet you at the black telephone pole.
We'd fight and draw a line and rope and cross over, and we were fighting with each other.
Yeah. Don't cross the line. The black telephone pole. It was the black telephone pole. Okay, so yeah. Whoops. Okay, that's me. The picket fence. Mom remembers that. Mom said she had to have a picket fence on the farm. That meant civilization.
And you can imagine how happy my husband was.
Yeah, and that meant she was living in a recognizable world with boundaries, not acres and acres of farmland. This was a little remnant of cloquet and city life, town life, was to have that picket fence with the peonies in front of it. The peonies.
But it didn't actually enclose anything, did it?
No, it didn't.
Yeah,
It was just a straight line. It didn't close in the yard.
Yeah.
It was just one line of picket
Yeah, the
fence.
garbage can is what
It hit the garbage, yeah. And there was a gate in it.
Yeah,
There was a gate in it that went to the other side.
I barely remember it, yeah.
need to know where.
Okay, so this is my dear cousin Bernie here, who lived all over the place. So he's the firstborn in his family, and that's Mom's older brother, Bernard. So they had rare visits to the farm, and they were our exotic cousins. So Janet was unusual, but she came every year, so we kind of knew what to expect. But when Bernard and Kuka came with their kids, and a name like Kuka, like, wow,
Make sure it's up.
yeah, we wanted, I remember, I just thought, what would a woman whose name is Kuka look like? Because, we only knew Marys and Susans and Kuka.
Her nickname?
Right, so,
Okay.
yeah, so they came very, very rarely, and this is one of the rare photographs. So that's me and Bernie, we're born in the same, well, you're 55, I'm 54, yeah.
You've been outed.
I'm 90.
And the flexible flyer, you
We're
guys
both
remember
49
having flexible flyer wagons, little red wagons? Okay, so that's a birthdays, of course, if you have a family of 6 and 60 first cousins and the kind of family we have, there's always a birthday going on. And the stock birthday cake, which Mom still makes,
Yes.
is the angel food cake. So we have endless photographs of angel food cakes. That was the birthday cake. So this says 1957, so I would have been 3 and Linda was 7. And Linda's birthday was October 20th and mine was the 19th. So we always had our birthday, we always celebrated our birthday together. And my dad used to say about me, I think I have chocolate on my face. There's yet another birthday. This time Kevin is there. Kevin is the baby. And my dad used to say about me, I was the only kid he knew that could go to the sink for a glass of water and come away with a dirty face. Okay, so Christmas time. So you can see we're all getting older now. There's Annalie in the background, and Linda, and we've obviously all got new clothes for Christmas. And this is at Grandma Mondo's house up in Cloquet. And we were a little bit, I think, the envy of, I remember cousin Christy, she was always a little bit miffed because we had family far away and would go and stay away for 1 or 2 weeks. And Christy and I were best friends. I mean, you know, there were no other kids around. So we were by default best friends. But we were best friends, actually, yeah. So this was up at Grandma Mondo's. Okay, so a little bit of time travel here. So that's Mom, the young mother. Oh. And First Communion, who can forget? First, let's go back to Mom as a young mother. There we go.
So who else is in the photo there?
So I don't know who you're with.
I don't know who that is either.
I know maybe Margot, a school person.
No, it's not my girlfriend.
That'll be Linda and Annalie.
Yeah, and that is not my girlfriend, no, I do not.
No.
And it's not one of the
fence,
Fogarty
but it's
is
not.
it?
It's not, no, it's not a Fogarty. No. Okay, so we all grew up as good Catholics, didn't we? You'll recognize this, First Communion. So, of course, there were 60 Fogartys, all went to Belle Plaine School, the same school. So every year there were a few Fogartys, weren't there? So this is my year. The Irish Catholic Church and the German Catholic Church. Of course, we went to the Irish Catholic Church. The poor church, the one that didn't have a church hall or a school. And they had the poor Franciscan priests. So yeah, so this was First Communion, and this was my year. So there was there's Carrie Fogarty and Anne Fogarty and Tim. That's
One of Doc's kids.
Yeah, one of Doc's kids,
Yeah.
Joe's kids, Pat's kid, and that's me on the end. So we four went through school together. And of course, it was always interesting because the next year, the teacher would read the roster and, there's 4 Fogartys. Are you sisters, brothers? What?
I'd like to add something about the dress Jeannie's wearing. Graham bought that for my mom to wear at her First Communion. Then Annalie wore it. Then Jeannie wore it. Then
Did Kevin?
Kevin did not, but you know what? Brian did. And then I wore it. Mom mended it so that I could wear it. And a bunch of did you guys wear it for First Communion? I think Annalise did. Annalise girls did. And then
Mary's girls did.
Graham found it in her closet in time for my daughter's First Communion. I took it to a tailor and dry cleaner who could take care of some of it. It's really quite aged. But she wore it and it was beautiful. I have it. She wore it. Alice wore it.
So, Alice, when you have a daughter, next generation. Okay. Okay, so this is so now we're back to the Mondo side. We keep going from Fogartys to Mondos. So this is the Mondo side of the family. And we've got Uncle Tommy there with the glasses on. Now, Uncle Tom, he was also very special, very dear to us growing up. He was known as Rich Uncle Tom. There's Tom. The guy with the glasses there with his arms folded. So, Rich Uncle Tom. and he was rich because we would go into his bedroom in the morning and pick up his trousers and shake them, and they always had money in it. And so money was a fairly rare thing for any of us to actually hold or have money. And somehow he tolerated us shaking his...
He's too hungover not to put up with it.
shaking his pants and helping ourselves to some change. And the other thing that made him rich, Uncle Tom, was he played a game with us. He would take a dollar bill and he would hold it like this, and he'd say, if you can catch it, you can have it. So he'd hold it out like this, and he'd let go, and we'd try to go. I don't think we ever caught it. It's more difficult. We should maybe play that later on. It's much more difficult than you think. Yeah, we'll try it later with a $100 bill. Because, I mean, back in those days, the play was a lot.
You got $100.
By now we did a $100 bill.
Tommy, you got one?
Tommy? He's still rich, Uncle Tom? No? His wife is saying no.
He had a convertible too.
And he had a convertible?
Single.
And he had a motorboat?
And a motorcycle.
And a motorcycle.
Wow.
So imagine all of that. I mean, we were in total awe of this guy. And then he got a girlfriend and we didn't like him. Now then Pat came along and was welcomed into the family warmly, of course, except by us. We kind of, he's not the same anymore. He's not our rich Uncle Tom. He's got his arm around a girl. Oh, no.
In that picture is my grandmother and my great-grandmother. I mean, my mother and my grandmother. That's what I'm trying to say.
So, oh here, I put my hand in the cake. So that's Mary Ellen, that's Mom, and that's great-grandmother in the middle of that, Grandma Daisy, and that's Mom's dad.
Mary Ellen's actually in the back, isn't she?
Oh, Mary Ellen's in the
Yeah.
back. That must be Hazel.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's Hazel there.
And then that's Emily on the floor, and that's cute little Kevin. He was such a little guy.
Is Katie in here right now?
Thank you.
Oh, Kate, that looks like Nolan, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's quite a family resemblance, isn't there? Okay, so yeah, this was the mandatory Christmas photograph. Look how happy we are.
Charlie, my mom's in the middle.
Everybody thought I was old, so I kept
Oh, yeah, you always told you, Linda, so you were like the oldest, but you weren't really old. Yeah, it looks a bit tense, doesn't it?
I don't know if any of your older people remember that, but when you could have, I don't know what job. I don't know what job. One could have what you would pay and get your child sitting on that and have a picture taken. Any of your older people remember that? Not a
She used to braid my hair to play my eyebrows.
Yeah, the braided hair.
So she didn't have to braid it for 2 days. Mom used to braid my hair so tight, my eyebrows went up and down. And she didn't have to braid my hair for 2 days because I did it.
I would like to say that that carried down to one more generation. She did that with my hair, but my mom never let her cut my bangs.
Yeah, you always in all the pictures.
Fortunately for you.
Yeah.
The bangs that got cut, she tried to make it sweet and then they'd be uneven, so she'd take another sweep. Next thing you know, they're right to your airline. I did that to my daughter last time I ever cut her hair.
Okay, this is the famous Kuka.
Oh my God.
This is, yeah, so Lisa, this is your, and it's a great photograph. It's in the barn.
Is she wearing high heels in the barn?
And you can see some ghost kids in the background, so the exposure must have just been very particular.
Is your mom wearing high
Just
heels
take out
in the
some
barn?
shoes and some
That's hysterical.
yeah, it's very ghostly. Yeah, look at her shoes. Yeah,
She's wearing high heels in the barn. I love it.
Yeah, she was small and very beautiful, and her name was Kuka. It was,
Who owned the farm before you and Grandpa?
so Bernard was a DJ and he worked in communications in the military. So they traveled around a lot. And he met her in Puerto Rico. She's Puerto Rican. Yeah.
If Lisa's outside right now, there's something, and people look just like Lisa.
Okay, all right.
Or Lisa looks just like Annie.
Here's the darling girls, the first two, Linda and Emily, and their lovely little outfits. Oh, there's Kuka. Okay.
Yeah, there's Lisa.
Yeah? Yeah, there's a strong resemblance also actually with you, Bernard. Yeah. And that's Linda. I love the hat. Do you love it? Very, and the snowsuit. And of course that's the barn in the background. And we were always very proud of our barn because it was made of stone. It was beautifully constructed. And it seemed huge.
It was huge.
It was, yeah, I suppose. It held 25 milk cows, I think. And we milked 25 cows.
What do you mean, we?
Yeah, so the barn holds lots of memories, don't they? Playing in the hayloft over the winter. And the windows of the barn, when I was little, I remember they were all broken. And in the winter, minus 20. And that was one of the things that Grandpa Mondo did. When they came down and stayed, Grandpa was very good at fixing things. And over 1 or 2 summers, he came down and completely put all new windows in the barn. And it just completely changed the whole barn experience from being a windy, cold place to being cozy and warm.
Can we feed everyone, Jeannie?
Huh?
Can we feed everyone?
Can we feed? I'll stop in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Because you're getting hungry?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a hint? I'm nearly to the end.
Oh, good. That was very subtle, but yeah.
That's yes. Okay, so you're getting hungry and you want to. Okay, so another one of us. So this is in there because this is the sink bath.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
remembers the sink bath? So when we were little, you didn't have baby baths. You used the kitchen sink. And so there's Kevin in the kitchen sink.
Thanks for protecting
I had the sink in the kitchen when I moved in there was this big with a back. And I no way was I going to have that. So I ordered a sink like that.
Oh, right, okay. So this is the original farmhouse.
Oh, and you see the bales of hay?
Yeah.
That's because there was no insulation.
Yeah. So hay, straw bales around the base. And plastic over the windows in the winter to keep the draft out. And I don't know if you remember, I remember waking up in the morning and there was frost on the inside of the windows. Yeah, and we didn't have heating. There was a boiler, in the oil boiler burner in the middle. Yeah, very cold.
Wasn't the door on the other side?
That is that was there too, but there was one at the front and one at the back. We never used that door.
That's considered the front.
Yeah.
Jeannie, we know it's not the because it's a new farmhouse.
Oh, because yours was actually a log cabin. Yeah, that's right. We had the modern house. So this was the refugee children. When I talked about Janet and her wonderful clothes, well, this is what I have in mind, you see. This is what we mostly look like, most of the time. And this is Christy. That's Christy. So Christy's my cousin, and your sister. And that's Kevin, and that's me. So again, so Kevin used to tag around with Christy and I, and Mom used to say, "Take Kevin, play with Kevin." And we were, you can see, quite a bit older, so we used to put him in the sandbox and try to get him playing. And when he was playing, we would try to sneak away. Okay, I think we're near the That's Kevin again. So I'll let the rest of them carry on. So what happens in the 70s? I leave home, and after that, my photographs become a series of group shots. Whenever I came home, we'd have a family get-together, and then we would have this group shot. But I just want to add something about Mom in the 70s and 80s, because that would be a bit remiss to think that Mom's whole life was being a young mother, raising 6 children, and there'll be more of them coming along. And that was, when she was in her 40s, New Horizons opened for Mom. I was gone from home then, and maybe we can share some memories about that later on in the afternoon. But I think the one notable thing to say about that time when we were growing up, and Chris and Kevin had left home too, and there was Chris and Brian were the teenagers at home, and so Mom, after years and years of raising a family, was now more free, and one of the things she noticed, and that started her off on a road of liberation, which some people admired and some people made fun of and some people didn't admire. But one day, it sort of occurred to her, why am I Mrs. Leo Fogarty? Why am I not Marion Fogarty? Why am I at a farmers' union meeting and the men are through there talking about dividends and credit unions, and the farm women are in the room next door being handed recipes and being called Mrs. Leo Fogarty. And it was like a sort of a light bulb moment for Mom to say, okay, yeah, I am Mrs. Leo. I'm proud of my farm, proud of my life. But actually, I'm a person in my own right. I'm Marion Fogarty. And whatever you might say, she was strident, she was difficult, she was opinionated.
The real reason about the Mrs. is that a man was always Mr. You never knew if he was married by his title.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So then started a long period of liberation, I suppose you could say, for my mom, which now we go, those of us women here, we can take it for granted, that we are our own person. But it was quite a daring thing to do back in the days. So I would like to thank Mom and thank all of you today for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the afternoon.